afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar titled Mindfulness and Sleep. We're so glad that you're here with us today. This is a really good topic, and we have a wonderful presenter today to go over this with us. But before we start, I do have a few housekeeping items. By the way, my name is Mary Martinez. I work with the Health Promotion and Wellness Department. And today's presentation is called Mindfulness and Sleep. And during the webinar, we're going to hide the cameras and microphones, and that will help cut back on any distractions during the presentation. So today's presentation will be presented by Catie Rosekelly. She is our Health Promotion and Wellness Manager. And the most important thing on this sheet right here that you're looking at is the fact that she loves naps and having an early bedtime. So she understands the importance of mindfulness and sleep. So thank you, Catie, for being our guest speaker today. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mary. So yes, like she said, I love a good nap. I love the restorative quality of good sleep. And I also try and make time to practice mindfulness before my usual 9:30 to 10 p.m. bedtime. So I do stick to that. All right. So for a lot of us, hopefully mindfulness is a word we're at least all familiar with. I'm sure a lot of us have been seeing it on social media, in the news, especially the last couple of years, as more people try to promote self-care and mental well-being. And so a lot of times when we think about mindfulness, I'm sure some of us still might picture someone meditating or doing some kind of extreme yoga pose. But the nice thing about mindfulness is that it can look and feel different for all of us, but it is most definitely a practice. So one definition of mindfulness is that it is the basic human ability to be fully present, aware of where we are and what we're doing, and not reactive or overwhelmed by what's going on around us. So really, mindfulness kind of boils down to being in the moment and being aware and being present. So, I mean, let's think about it. When was the last time you weren't multitasking? When was the last time you weren't planning for, the next meeting or next thing you needed to do? Or even when you were talking with a friend, when was the last time you were truly listening to what they were saying rather than thinking about what you wanted to say next? So when we think about mindfulness, we can think about intentionality. Like I said, being present in that moment. Mindfulness and sleep actually go hand in hand. I'll go into some of their similar benefits, some of the background, and why the two of them can be talked about together. But when it comes to sleep, I do think it's important to learn a little bit more about it. So most of us know that sleep is a cycle. And a lot of times when we think sleep, we think that REM cycle, that rapid eye movement. But like I said, it's a cycle, and it's important that you go through all of the different stages of sleep. So as you go deeper and deeper into sleep, your body will undergo different changes. And one of the cool things is you go through this cycle multiple times in a sleep session. So you don't just fall asleep and have one, stage of REM cycle sleep. You go through this multiple times. So with that stage one, that's you are just falling asleep. You can still wake up. And that's very light sleep. And stage two, you're working towards that deeper sleep. It's when your body temperature starts to drop as well. Stage three is when you get into that really good, deep sleep. And that's when your heart rate and your breathing rates are actually at their lowest and their slowest. Your body is fully relaxed. And then your brain activity will actually start to pick up more during that REM cycle, that REM sleep. So that rapid eye movement, that's where most of us have our dreams and things like that. But it is so important to be able to go through all of these cycles. So if you're constantly getting woken up, around stages 1 and 2, and you're never quite able to make it to REM, that's when we start to get those poor quality sleep nights. So, like I said, mindfulness and sleep, they go hand in hand, and they share a lot of the same benefits. and they help one another out. So a lot of the shared benefits are weight management, because while you're sleeping, your body is undergoing really important like hormonal management. It's you need good sleep to help control your insulin, blood sugar levels. And with mindfulness practice, that can actually help with the behavioral side of weight management. When you practice that intentionality and when you're getting good sleep, we've got those reduced feelings of anxiety and stress. Both of these can help with pain management, improve your heart health, and improve attentiveness. And, especially one of the benefits of good sleep is we're going to have less cranky pants on the next day. Hopefully we're not waking up on the wrong side of the bed. And then some other unique benefits of mindfulness, increased levels of happiness. By being present, being intentional, you can be open to new experiences. And another way mindfulness is beneficial is that it can help decrease feelings of loneliness and isolation. And one of the things that they've seen and studied is seeing practice of mindfulness in seniors to decrease those feelings. So both of these have great shared benefits and really important just benefits for your mental well-being, your physical well-being. And so in a little bit, we're going to start talking about how we can really practice these. But first, this is an important question. Why can't I sleep? A lot of us are going to, go through different phases in life, different situations where getting good sleep is difficult. A lot of times people say, oh, I'm an insomniac. Okay, well, it could be true. Most of us at some point in our lives are going to have bouts or phases of acute insomnia. So those are shorter time periods where you have actual trouble sleeping. And then some people really do struggle with chronic insomnia. And that's something that you would have to discuss with your doctor. They would really evaluate your sleep patterns and things like that. So they're very real. Some health conditions can really negatively affect your sleep quality. So another health condition that a lot of people think about is sleep apnea. So that has to do with breathing, or correctly not breathing while you're sleeping. And that really leads to poor sleep quality. And then life in general. So over here, I've got some stress and anxiety. And yes, those can lead to poor sleep quality as your mind is racing, as you're worried about what you've got to get done. Part of life is for anybody who's been a parent and you have new babies and children. Yes, we think about that and the no sleeping. But then for a lot of us, we could probably pinpoint our bad sleep, our poor sleep quality to some bad sleep habits or a poor sleep hygiene. And before I get into how we can really improve our sleep quality and how we can practice mindfulness, I wanted to talk about something that I've found interesting that I've been reading more about, and it is called revenge bedtime procrastination. Now, it's kind of new. A lot of people are studying it, but especially over the last 2 years, people have been reporting staying up a lot later than they know they should, and then doing things just like mindlessly scrolling or watching episode after episode on Netflix, something like that. And so what revenge bedtime procrastination is, it's when you're giving up your sleep to do activities that you don't have time for during the day. And so a lot of people who are working really stressful jobs, working multiple jobs, or working really weird shifts like night shifts, parents with small children who are giving up a lot of bedtime, they find themselves staying up later and later just to have that time to themselves. And it is so important for all of us to have, time for us, time for self-care, having that free time. And unfortunately, a lot of times life gets in the way. And so people are starting to give up sleep for that free time. And so it is kind of hard. How do you decide time for yourself or sleep, or maybe can you view it as the same thing? So it is interesting. I would suggest look it up and read about it. As soon as I read a few articles, I definitely identified with it and said, ooh, I need to start turning my sleep into time for me. All right. So how can we improve our sleep? Well, we can start practicing healthy sleep habits like mindfulness, it is a practice. It will take a little while to break some of our bad sleep habits. Some of us have gotten so used to some of the things that I'm actually going to tell you not to do that it might seem impossible then to go to sleep without doing it. But like I said, it is a practice. It takes time. One of the things that I recommend is that if you are struggling with poor sleep quality, is track what you're doing now. And then as you make changes, track how it's going. Start a sleep journal. So that way you can see what's really working. How long is this taking? And then that can help you pinpoint, is it just a bad sleep habit? Or maybe there's actually something there that you'd want to talk with your doctor about. So when it comes to getting good sleep, one of the things that we could all do is limit our screen time. So that means putting down the phones and turning the TVs off. So a lot of providers will recommend limiting screen time starting about an hour, 30 minutes before you plan on going to sleep. So that way the blue light from the screen that mimics that daylight, your brain starts to think, it is no longer daytime. It's not getting tricked into staying up and staying alert. And you can start to transition into that bedtime routine. And so one of the things I recommend is not using your phone for an alarm clock, charging it overnight in another room, and just invest in a good old-fashioned alarm clock. Take that phone out of the room. If you've got a TV in your room, start getting in the habit of not falling asleep to a movie or to Netflix, setting a time where you're going to be done watching. So that way you can start that bedtime routine. Another thing you can do to really help with your sleep habits is actually try to set a bedtime and wake up time and then stick to it. So know that during the week and on the weekend, this is when you're going to head to bed. And then this is when you're going to wake up. So your body gets in that actual rhythm of, getting ready to go to sleep, knowing when to wake up. And I know sometimes on the weekends when you're not working or you've got that free time, it is so nice to sleep in. And while that's great every now and then, if you are constantly, sleeping in on some days and then waking up early on others, that can really throw your sleep rhythm out of whack. And so try to stick to those as close as possible. Now, some of the changes you can make to your sleep environment include making sure that the room is as dark as possible, limiting the kinds of light in there. That's why I said, maybe put your phone in another room. So that way you don't have that blue light source in there. If you're like me, I have a giant window in my room. I invested in some blackout curtains and oh my goodness, they are fantastic. So that way I don't have my neighbor's giant spotlight that's motion activated, turning on and off and waking me up. Just shut those curtains, good to go. So you can invest in blackout curtains. Now, with sleeping, you're going to spend a significant portion of your life, about 25% of your life sleeping. So I recommend taking the time and doing some research and saving up to invest in good pillows. Invest in a good mattress or a good mattress topper. Because if you're uncomfortable sleeping, if you're in pain while sleeping, it's really important that you get the right kind of pillow, get the right kind of support. So that way your body can truly relax. You can go through all of those cycles and get the rest you need. And another way we can adjust our sleep environment is turning down the temperature a little bit by lowering the temperature outside or inside your room. You're able to fall into sleep a little bit faster. And like I said earlier, during one of the stages of sleep, your body temperature lowers, and that's what you want. So you can either, crank the AC down a little bit. You could invest in a fan, things like that. So really thinking about the environment you're sleeping in and what you're doing can really help make a difference. So now some other changes we can all make include things like no caffeine. So surprisingly, caffeine can stay in your system for about 5 to 7 hours. So if you're having, an afternoon coffee and you want to go to bed by 9, there could be caffeine still in your system. So I would recommend maybe going half calf or something for that afternoon coffee, or limiting the amount of soda you're drinking, limiting the amount of tea with caffeine, going to those decaffeinated options. Now, doctors also recommend no smoking, no using nicotine a few hours before bed, or, maybe quitting smoking in general, because nicotine is a stimulant. And so if you're smoking or using any kind of tobacco product with it present before bedtime, you're waking your system up. So trying to cut out that nicotine usage can also lead to better sleep. And now, a lot of people think, oh, having a nightcap, having, that evening glass of wine, nothing wrong with it. But really, when it comes to alcohol, it actually leads to poor quality sleep. So it might make you drowsy. It might make you feel like you're going to fall asleep faster. But the thing is, it's not going to lead to good sleep. You're going to wake up more often. And then you might also not like how you feel after you wake up. So I really recommend staying away from that nightcap to try and fall asleep. So limiting caffeine, limiting nicotine, and limiting alcohol use before bed can also lead to some better quality sleep. All right, so let's talk about mindfulness practice. So there are a lot of ways. And like I said, mindfulness can look and feel different for everybody. If you do a quick search for mindfulness practices, you can find a ton of reliable sources. And I recommend doing that and trying something that really works for you, that makes you feel good. So some of the ways that you can practice it are having a mindful wake up and meditation. So if you're setting a new bedtime and you're setting a new wake up time, make it a habit to do some kind of morning meditation, morning breathing exercises. And that's what you'll do the first thing you wake up, first thing every day you wake up. Another way you could practice mindfulness is intention setting. And that's becoming more and more popular. You might see a lot of that on social media. But with intention setting, that can come in a lot of different ways. It's really thinking about, what do I want? What do I want to accomplish? What do I need? What do I want to feel? And focusing on those answers, setting that intention and working towards it. Another way you can practice mindfulness is through mindful eating. That can be as simple as putting your phone down and turning the TV off and just focusing on your meal, or focusing on the people that you're sharing that meal with, rather than having distractions. Or if you're like me and you're working during the day, actually taking a lunch break rather than, taking a bite of lunch, answering a couple emails, taking another bite, that kind of thing. That's not good. So with mindful eating, that really allows you to focus on your meal, focus on what you're doing and enjoying it, enjoying the flavors. Like I said, not having any of those other distractions. And then another way you can practice mindfulness, and this surprises some people when I talk about it, it's try a new route. Find a new way to get to work the next day, or find a new way to get home. I don't know if you're like me, but there have been days after a really long day at work where I'm driving home, my brain goes on autopilot, and the next thing I know, I'm in my driveway and I do not remember the ride home. And I just think, oh my goodness. Oh. So by thinking about a new route, you are actually taking the time to focus on your surroundings, take everything in. It could be as simple as just trying to go to a new grocery store rather than the one closest to you. If you've got the time, try another one. And just put yourself into a very different setting, so that way your brain isn't on autopilot, can take everything in. Now, there are some practices that you can do that are going to help both mindfulness and sleep. So a lot of times we'll recommend aromatherapy to individuals. So I had to choose it. We all know lavender is a great scent to help relax the body as you're getting ready to fall asleep, but it can help you focus, and it can help you calm down. So maybe you could focus on some meditation or intention setting. There are guided meditations that you could listen to for both mindfulness practice and for falling asleep. I actually have one that I listen to when I'm really stressed out from the day and I want to fall asleep, and it walks me through some breathing, some visualizations. The next thing I know, I'm asleep. Oh man, it puts me right to bed and I love it. But that's something you could try. Another way you can practice mindfulness and work on getting better sleep is journaling. Get those feelings out. You can go online and find all sorts of free journal prompts to help guide what you're writing. You can just free write about your day. And so that's something we recommend. Get those feelings out at the end of the day, put them on paper, and I bet you'll feel a lot better, feel a little more rested. And so that way you've focused on what you felt and you're working on getting to sleep. And then, we can also try some easy stretching or some easy yoga. So that way you're mindful of your body, of how you feel, of all that physical activity. And it can help get you ready for bed. It can help calm you down. So rather than doing, really strenuous cardio or heavy weights late at night, opt for an exercise that's going to be more gentle, that will focus more on stretching, getting those joints loosened up. So that way you are more relaxed so you can fall asleep. And so with all of these tips, hopefully you can see that there are actually a lot of ways you can try to improve your sleep quality and to practice mindfulness. All right. So thank you all. Does anybody have any questions? Yes. And when it comes to resources, like I said, with mindfulness, it is becoming a very popular practice. There are a lot of benefits to it, as we saw earlier. And so that's a very quick, easy search. When it comes to sleep, though, I would say I would stick to, reputable sources like the Mayo Clinic, speaking with your doctor. The Sleep Foundation is another good organization. Because yes, if you are making changes to your sleep habits, if you do have chronic conditions, it might be time to talk with your doctor about other options for better sleep, things like that. And that's where, tracking what you're doing, tracking how you're sleeping can really be helpful.
So I want to thank everyone for attending and Catie for presenting all of this wonderful information. And we hope that you come back to the next webinar. We always love to have you guys. Make sure that you tell your coworkers.
All right. Well, thank you for having me.
All right. Everyone have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.